So Mams Taylor might have just revealed what they plan on doing with Misfits should influencer boxing die down. As we all know, in my earlier videos, I've talked about how KSI leaving boxing and retiring could kill Misfits. It could be the very, very end because, as we all see, every pay-per-view they put on is headlined by KSI. He is their cash cow. And it's seeming like they're looking at the numbers of all the other cards and they're saying, like, how are we going to put on a pay-per-view without KSI's name on it, without the superstar's name on it? And Mams Taylor might have just revealed what their solution is going to be to all of this and to where they can keep Misfits in business. So it was reported that there will be a Misfits Pro Tournament, which will happen some point early next year, and the winner will get $1 million and will be a Misfits Pro Champion. Now, this is very, very interesting. I know a lot of people might think, well, it's just an influencer championship. And here's where you are wrong. So the first thing that comes into play here is DAZN, right? DAZN has been struggling. There is a reason why DAZN bought into these influencers. There's a reason why DAZN did it. It's because you can clearly tell they're struggling a little bit more than they would like to and what they're used to, right? They had Canelo Alvarez. They had the big superstar in Canelo. International superstar. They were probably generating so much money. They lost out on him. He goes over to Showtime. Teofimo Lopez, looking like he was going to be this big international superstar also, fights and beats Lomachenko, becomes an undisputed lightweight world champion, boosts him big time. He goes, signs with DAZN, looked like a big signing. He loses to George Kambosos. Now Teofimo Lopez just isn't as big of a superstar that it was leading him to seem like he was going to be. Anthony Joshua, the main one signed to DAZN, that's their biggest superstar by far, comes to America, tries to get that international popularity, gets knocked out by Andy Ruiz. So not what they wanted. Anthony Joshua was still, without a doubt, a superstar. Still, without a doubt, DAZN's biggest star, one of the biggest stars in boxing. But not as big as what they were probably anticipating since that Andy Ruiz knockout. He doesn't look like the unbeatable, unstoppable fighter anymore. So just a lot of the casual people aren't going to be very interested no more. And all the other DAZN cards just aren't selling super crazy. So we see that DAZN is struggling a little bit, which is probably the most likely reason why they bought into this influencer stuff, because it can generate a lot of money. DAZN saw, Eddie Hearn saw how much money they were able to generate with the Logan Paul KSI fight, the second one. And they were like, oh, let's tap into this market because there is money to be made. And rightfully so. I'm sure they're very happy with how Misfits is going this far, especially with these pay-per-views. These pay-per-views are doing very well. They're selling out arenas like crazy. Those places are packed with loud, hyped up fans to see some influencer fights, which is something that Eddie Hearn and probably any professional promotional company was not expecting at all. So it's gone way better than what they could have ever expected it to go. But here's the problem now. What KSI talking about, he doesn't plan on boxing for very long. He probably maybe only has a couple fights left. You know, them putting on this Misfits Prime card, it's looking like a final huge fight card for them. And when KSI does decide to leave boxing, what is going to happen with Misfits? Because like I've said before, I don't know who they can headline that can carry a pay-per-view that people will want to watch. I'm sure they'll get some sales, but they're not going to get anything crazy, especially not anything as much as when KSI was fighting. So how are they going to make money? But Mams Taylor revealing that there is going to be a pro tournament and there's going to be a Misfits Pro Champion, you can see that they're starting to enter into this professional circuit now. They're probably looking at fighters like Dean the Great, like Salt Poppy, like Slim, and they're saying these guys have legit skills. They have good technique. They have good form. They want to fight. They can fight. Someone even like Gib, they can fight. They can definitely do well in the pro circuit. They could definitely do well. Will they be world champions? We don't know because that's a long road ahead. But we have fighters with aspirations to be pro champions, to be world champions, and they have the skills to back it up thus far. I mean, we could say what we want about someone like Dean the Great, but the guy has skills. He's in there competing and even beat a Golden Gloves champion in Wally Sharks. There's some professional boxing analysts and reporters that have seen Dean the Great sparring, that has seen his fights, and they're like, yo, this guy is a legit contender. This guy really has skills. I know a lot of the people in the YouTube space and influencer space, they might not really like Dean, But there's no doubt the guy has some serious skills. And he's been talking about he wants to be a world champion. He's been talking about he wants to go to the pro scene and knock all those guys out, be a world champion. And hey, he has the aspirations, he has the talent. Of course, there's a long road ahead of him, and he's got a lot of things to do, but he's still early in his career. He's still young, he's hungry. So they want to tap into guys like that. They want to tap into that. So how are they going to do it? Well, with this announcement, I'm sure, in my opinion, from the outside looking in, it's looking like Mams Taylor and Misfits is going to turn into a promotional company. Something very, very similar to Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, where DAZN can sign these fighters to Misfits. They can be under that promotional company, get promoted well, and then send them over to places like Showtime, send them over to fight on ESPN. And now they get the promotion, they get their fighter to be built up more. They get their name out there, maybe even possibly sometime get a world champion. And now they bring them back to DAZN, and now you got the following behind this fighter all coming to DAZN now. Misfits could very well be a really, really big deal for something like DAZN. As we can all see, Oscar De La Hoya is making a lot of money off of these fighters. They're not fighting on Golden Boy's fight event. They're fighting on Showtime. They're fighting on these big events, but they're promoted by Oscar De La Hoya. So he's getting a lot of money with that Golden Boy Promotions. And it's looking like DAZN could be doing something very, very similar with Misfits, which is a very, very smart thing to do. They understand that the influencer boxing stuff isn't going to last forever. They understand that it's going to die down once they lose their cash cow, because unfortunately, he's the only one they have that's making that much money or bringing in that much money. So I think it's a very, very smart move. Do I think it will kill influencer boxing? Yes, without a doubt, I do think so. I think a lot of people aren't really a fan of Dean the Great, especially due to his antics and stuff. And I think the YouTube fan base, even though they'll want to probably check tabs on him to see how he's doing, they probably won't be very interested in actually watching him fight. But Misfits would be a really, really good outlet for up-and-coming fighters to go to and get signed under a big promotional company to fight on big-time cards. Like, imagine if you've seen Dean the Great fight on Anthony Joshua's undercard. That is a big-time fight, man. Or you see Dean the Great go fight on some huge Showtime undercard or a big undercard on ESPN. You know what I mean? Like, this is a big outlet for someone like DAZN to bring these fighters in, get their name out there, build them up, and then they could bring them back to DAZN, and that brings the fan base with them. But like I said, I'm not sure that this is the actual plan, but it's looking like it might be with them starting to make a professional league. They're going to make a tournament with professional fighters. They're trying to make their fighter a pro. So if they're making fighters pros, I'm sure whoever wants to be a real professional, they want that world title. So that's what it's looking like to me. I'm interested to see what you guys think about all this. Number one, who do you think has the best chance of winning this tournament and becoming the Misfits Pro Champion? And who do you think has the best chance to make it well, possibly to a world title, or make it well in the rankings in the pro circuit? As always, thank you all so much for the support, and I'll catch you in the next video.